It's an unusual day, January 21, 2021. How's that? Gosh, I'm glad everybody's here, and members should be aware that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube in a way for the members of the public to participate. So please keep that in mind when making any comments. I will ask that you keep your microphones on mute when you are not speaking, and you can use the chat function through Zoom if you need to make a comment about a technical or logistical issue. Please know that the chat will also be recorded and part of the public meeting record. For the purpose of the meeting minutes, I will ask that you state your name before any comments so that we may have your name and comments on record. Finally, for action items, we will be taking a roll call vote. I will call out the committee names and then ask how you vote. Let's move now to introductions. I will call each member's name and ask you to introduce yourself and your organization, starting with the vice chair, but I'm really going to start with me. I'm Wally Campbell from the City of Goodyear, and I'm your chair. My vice chair is Mark Stewart, and we'll come back to him in a moment. So Brandy, if you don't mind calling the roll of those that are online.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Council Member Binsbacher. Council Member Condi.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Council Member Duff.
Here.
Council Member, I'm sorry, Supervisor Gallardo. Council Member Klein. And I would like to welcome Council Member Klein as a new member. Would you like to introduce yourself, Council Member Klein?
Sure. I'm brand new to the City of Surprise as a council person, but I've been involved in some human services initiatives over the past number of years. So I'm going to say I'm the newbie for months now. So
welcome. And we do have another new member joining the committee today, Council Member Betty Yannick from Scottsdale. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm new to the Scottsdale City Council, and then I'm also new to this commission, and I hope to do a good job representing Scottsdale and doing all I can. Thank you.
Welcome. So
thank you so much. Welcome. And then we also have Council Member Hess.
Present.
Council Member Navarro.
Here.
And Council Member Yentis.
Here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Is that it, Brandy? Is that everyone?
Yes. And Council Member Stewart will be joining in a little while.
All right, very good. And I'll now ask the staff to introduce themselves, starting with Amy St. Peter.
Hello there, my name is Amy St. Peter. I'm the Deputy Executive Director with the Maricopa Association of Governments. It's great to see all of you. Thank you very much for your time today with us. Look forward to the meeting.
Brandy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brandy Mead, Human Services Director.
And Tina Lopez.
Morning, everybody. I'm the Human Services Administrative Assistant. Welcome.
And Dee Dee Gastia.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dee Dee Gastia, and I'm the Human Services Transportation Planner here at MAG. Thank you.
Is that everyone, Brandy, as far as I know, for staff?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to item 2 on the agenda, which is call to the audience. Please note that members of the public were given an opportunity to submit written comments relating to this meeting to azmag.gov/comment within 1 hour of the printed start time for this meeting. Brandy, has staff received any comments from the public?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, we have not received any comments from the public.
All right. Hearing none, we will now move to the approval of the consent agenda. And as a reminder, please state that committee members may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda if there is a need for discussion. Members cannot comment on consent agenda item without first requesting it to be removed for discussion. Is there a request to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, but please state your name when making your motion?
This is Councilmember Hess, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
This is Councilmember Condi. I second.
Thank you. It is now moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Brandy will now conduct a roll call of names for the vote.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Campbell,
Aye.
Condi,
Aye.
Duff,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Yannick,
Aye.
Hess moved, Navarro,
Aye.
and Yantis.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion has passed. Item 4 is the fiscal year 2022 Social Services Block Grant Funding Allocation Recommendation. MAG staff Brandy Mead will present to us this morning the recommendation to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning again, members of the committee. It's my pleasure to present the funding allocation recommendations for the fiscal year 2022 Social Services Block Grant Funding on behalf of the MAG Human Services Technical Committee. MAG was notified in October of last year by DES of a request to continue with facilitating the process to make these funding recommendations. DES is anticipating level funding in the amount of $3,615,416 for the state SSBG funds. The technical committee met on January 7th of this year and developed the recommendation that I'm presenting to you today. And that recommendation is based on discussion as well as input from nonprofit providers that are administering SSBG funds. And that input was through a provider survey that was sent out to those nonprofit organizations that receive SSBG funding. So I refer you to your meeting packet to review the recommendation that is being presented to you today. And I'll walk you through that. After a rich discussion about impact of social services block grant fundings, block grant funds, needs around services, and also a discussion around impact of COVID-19, the technical committee is recommending the following to you today. So knowing that we have a level funding recommendation from DES, our recommendation is consistent with the fiscal year 2021 funding with one exception. So on page 2 of your handout, you'll see of the SSBG handout, you'll see in the area of the Division of Aging and Adult Services, there is a shifting of funds in the amount of $25,000. And that is being recommended that we move those $25 from the line item of home delivered meals to in-home care. And the reason for this recommended change is because other flexible funding sources have been identified to provide home delivered meals. While there is a growing need for additional funding in the area of in-home care for older adults, especially because of the impact of the pandemic. Therefore, the funding allocation is as follows. $3,390,973 to the Division of Aging and Adult Services, $177,849 to the Department of Child Safety, and $46,594 to Rehabilitation Services Administration for the total SSBG funding amount that we are recommending today. And these funds will support the target areas of adults, families, children, the elderly, and people with disabilities. And Madam Chair, members of the committee, this item is on the agenda for recommended approval today. And the recommended approval would then go through Management Committee and Regional Council. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the committee? Brandy, will you once again tell us why the amount was decreased for the Meals on Wheels or the home delivered meals?
Yes, so we had a very rich discussion, Madam Chair, members of the committee, about that line item. And especially with the influx of COVID-19 funding, that's one area where we heard from several members of the technical committee, and we also heard responses from our survey from the nonprofit providers that that there are other flexible funding sources that can be used for home delivered meals where there is a growing need and a gap in the in-home care item. So the recommendation was to move $25,000 from the meals to the in-home care because it was identified as a growing need in that area where there are not other flexible funding sources that can fill the in-home care service.
Okay, thank you. I do know that some of the meal deliveries now are doing it just weekly with one hot meal and 4 or 5 cold meals because it's difficult with the COVID to get the meals into the recipient's hands. Have you heard anything on those programs?
There wasn't a specific discussion about Meals on Wheels. We did discuss, well, and Meals on Wheels may be part of the home delivered meals programming. We did hear that there were other flexible funding streams that were coming in to support that service, and that there were some unique and creative ways in which those meals were being provided.
Oh, thank you. It's all right. Thank you very much. Then if there is no further discussion, is there a motion to recommend approval for the fiscal year SSBG funding allocation recommendation?
Councilmember Hess makes a motion to approve agenda item number 4.
Is there a second?
I'll make the second. Vice Mayor Jen Duff from City of Mesa.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the recommended fiscal year SSBG funding allocation. Brandy, will you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Campbell.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Councilmember Condi.
Aye.
And Councilmember Klein.
Aye.
Councilmember Yannick.
Aye.
Hess made the motion. Councilmember Navarro.
Aye.
And Councilmember Yantes.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion has carried. We will now move to item number 5, which is let's see, I would like to invite Chris Groninger from the Arizona Bar Foundation to provide an overview of an eviction prevention website, which I'm sure will be of interest to all of us.
Morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, thank you again for having us today. Joining me is Kathleen Cole. She works with me at the foundation. We're with the Arizona Bar Foundation, and our goal is always to promote access to justice. Since the pandemic, we've been acutely focused on eviction issues as they relate to people who have non-payment of rent or pandemic-related issues. We have a hotline for legal information, which provides connection to a half-hour free consultation. But we recognize that there's not a really central place to find information about eviction and about the eviction process. A group of grant makers and philanthropists throughout the state had come together looking for a space. And since we had AZ Eviction Help, the domain already with the intent of having eviction related information out for the public, we offered to change, and update and revise that domain so that it could be used. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this will work okay, to show you the website. We had a very, very short timeline. When this came up, our discussion centered around mid-December, and the concern was that the CDC's eviction order would be expiring at the end of the month, and that at the first of the year, so many would be facing either a lockout because a judgment had already been secured in court, or they would be facing eviction for the first time. And in lieu of additional rental assistance, or the time it might take for rental assistance that was in the spending bill passed by Congress, that we would have an avalanche or a tsunami or whatever natural disaster you'd like to describe this as. So we put this website together with two goals. One was to connect people with the rental assistance or utility assistance or legal help that they needed. And so that's the find help section. So you can find the resources that you're looking for related to legal aid, rental assistance. Right now, we have a lot of information that's populated with community action programs, and we're awaiting direction on what the best way to refer people to the new rental assistance funds that are available. So right now, you'll see community action agencies by county or agencies that are able to provide or direct towards rental assistance. This will be much more robust once we have that information and direction able to provide. The other side of this is so the idea is that if you're before an eviction happens, let's get you the help and the resources that you need. But if you're in the process or you've received a notice or a summons, that process can be really confusing. A lot of people think when they've received a notice from their landlord or property owner, that means they have to leave or move out or they're going to court because of that, not realizing that there's a timeline there that exists that you have the ability to pay to stop that process from going forward. So what we did was we identified the different ways or how and who might be impacted. So there's different reasons why you might be facing an eviction. Most commonly, usually and during the pandemic, is because of non-payment of rent. And then there's different rules and laws that apply to the type of property or setting that you're renting in. So if you have a residential, if you're renting a mobile home park space or an RV space, the different rules apply. So you can choose those types of things and whatever that issue might be. And then when you get to this place, it walks you through what options you have, explains the notice of non-payment and what you should receive, how you should receive it, and it includes links to a lot of laws and rules. So we're still in the process of updating and making this even more plain language and tenant friendly. Once we have a final, this information will be translated into Spanish. So although we do have Google Translate, we'll have a mirror site in Spanish. And so really what the goal is that it gives people information about what options they have at what point they are in the process. So I showed I got to that place, but usually, so you can kind of navigate your way there. But if you just want general information before an eviction hearing, what an eviction hearing is and how it happens, what role, what's decided and how, and why you'd want to go, then there's also helpful checklists and information that's out there. The website overall is live, so everybody can go there now and check it out. And we'd love your feedback if you have concerns or want to, think we should explain something differently. That is all really helpful. One of the things that we're using with this updated information and the content that's on the website is we're working with Vitalist Health Foundation to provide a training for non-lawyer helpers. I think in the past, they have recruited and trained others as insurance assisters that helped people sign up after Medicaid expansion through the ACA. And so those folks actually have volunteered to be trained to understand eviction, understand rental assistance resources, and will serve as sort of a direction point or helpers to help people understand where they're at and find the right resources for help. We're waiting to know kind of what's happening yet before we record or do a training with so much changing as it goes. We're trying to keep up with that. This site will be about the eviction process as it exists or as it happens most of the time. And with executive orders from the governor or federal legislation, the eviction process itself does not change. Those laws are kind of there. We may have a pause or a change. And so where we'll be expanding information is where the CDC order, for example, applies now, or any future legislation that, pauses or changes that process. Will definitely give that the priority and focus of the website, because that will come first. But this is baseline information. The site isn't going to go away, so it will be a long-term, hopefully, solution for folks to be able to access and know what their rights are, how the process works, and especially where to find help, no matter where they're at in that process. So there is going to be a media campaign led by the Vitalist Foundation and the Arizona Community Foundation. We're hoping that that will all time well with when the funds are available, where those rental assistance applications will be available to the public to apply for funds. But in the meantime, if you have suggestions or you'd like to go through the website, or if you think there's something that we can add that already exists that we'd love to link to, whatever resources are available. We're not obviously experts in all of these areas, but we'd really like for this to be a public space where people can find information. So I'm happy to take any questions or show more of the website if you'd like.
I'm excited to see this because we are in the process of trying to identify those folks that are on the edge of losing their home, and we don't want them to do that because they just need help, but they don't know where to go to get help. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. And I would be curious to hear comments from other committee members, what you think of this website, or if you think it should include anything else. We do have people coming to us as a city asking us for help when their credit card debt is just killing them, as well as losing their jobs and losing their home. They don't know what to do or where to go. So
I really appreciate you saying that, Madam Chair, because one of the things that we recognize is that it's not just a lack of rent is the reason why people are unable to, they don't have that money, obviously, but it's often because of another legal issue. They may not be getting child support because of the pandemic. They might not, their hours may have been reduced, or they are owed wages from their employer, or, there's a whole host of issues as to why. And I think one of the alarming things that we've learned with the hotline and with other resources that we've had is that there are a lot of elderly Arizonans that are facing eviction or loss of their home for the first time, and really have no idea how to navigate this process. One thing, Kathleen and I, Kathleen's the major brains behind this site is AZ Court Help, which is on behalf of the Arizona Supreme Court, but it does have direct access and links to court locations, forms, all of the types of things. So we don't want to replicate any of that information. We definitely link to and share information where those resources exist. But often the reason somebody is facing an eviction is a different legal issue altogether, or it's a different matter that's keeping them from paying their rent. And so we want to promote those resources and legal help that's available for people to address that issue before an eviction becomes a problem.
That's wonderful. Brandy, will you be kind enough to ensure that the committee gets the web address for this particular web page, and also on the other one that she showed very quickly, the legal help one? I think if the cities could promote those within our residents who need it, that will help, because they need to know where to go and they don't know where to go. Oh yes, azcourthelp.org. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Madam Chair, it's azevictionhelp.org for the eviction website. And Madam Chair, it looks like Councilmember Navarro would like to comment.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think this is a great program, and I apologize if I'm sounding muffled. I'm on a road trip to drop off a car in Florida. But the program sounds great. My question is, how do we, to Madam Chair's point, how do we get this to the cities so that they can have the link or the ability to pass on that information? How actively are we doing that? And then if we are going through a Google search, just typically someone's just asking for rent assistance or eviction assistance or whatever it may be, where does this pop up at on that Google search? And my always the biggest thing is there's programs out there, but sometimes people have a hard time trying to navigate to that program. How are we going to ensure marketing this going forward starts to enhance the ability or the visibility of this program?
Great question. Great question. So, Chris, how do you think we should handle this?
Well, Madam Chair, Mr. Navarro, as I mentioned before, there's a very robust media and outreach campaign that's being coordinated by the Vitalist Health Foundation, it's being led by the Vitalist Health Foundation and the Arizona Community Foundation, and they have planned media purchases. We've built the site with SEO or search engine optimization and rankings in mind. So the terms and things that are used generally by tenants and maybe not the law will hopefully populate and lift that site up. There's a very, again, robust social media campaign planned. As far as we know, we're kind of the behind the scenes folks, and I'm happy to make sure that this committee and other governmental entities within Maricopa County are included on those messaging and campaigns. So if there are flyers or information that's being provided in English and Spanish, that you can use that. Another thing that I didn't quite mention, but we are going to do the training for those insurance assisters, those helpers who will help people navigate and find the resources. We also want them to be available as a chat function on the website. So we're moving in that direction to make sure that people can connect directly with somebody in COVID times. But part of that training is if you have staff who would benefit or taking those calls from tenants or people facing eviction, if you'd like for them to attend the training, we're happy to invite any constituent services staff or those that work directly with the public to participate and have the same knowledge that we all do, trying to understand the process and what resources are available.
That's good to know. If you could get that information on how we, who we contact and how we get our folks registered. I'm sure that there's some cities that might want to send some of their staff to learn more about this. And I wondered if we as a group, as MAG, if we could get more information out on this to all of our member cities. I think that's pretty critical too, that we get behind this as well.
And Madam Chair, yes, I am happy to provide and share this information, distribute it to cities and towns. So I can work with Chris on that.
Good,
especially once the materials are ready to be rolled out for the awareness campaign. And Madam Chair, Councilmember Duff has raised her hand to comment.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Duff?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if there's a way to get the information distributed to landlords or rental units, or I don't know if there's any association anyway, because I'm sure that they would like to see their tenants get assistance if it's available rather than a victim is costly for all. And then do we have any information as far as I know the Biden administration has some things they're trying to get through Congress quickly on extending the eviction and some funding for eviction and utilities, kind of a continuation of our CARES. Any word on when we can expect some movement on that?
So Brandy, I'm going to give you that question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I do not have details on when that will roll out or how that will roll out, but I'm happy to look into that and provide that information to the committee as that's made available. And Councilmember Hess has raised her hand for comment as well.
All right, Councilmember Hess.
Yes, so thank you, Chair Campbell. I just want to add that this is also part of the discussion. I thank you for this information. This is fantastic. Some of the utilities are doing it, but I know, for instance, the city of Buckeye, we own our own water. We're one of the three water providers. We have $2 million worth of unpaid water bills at this moment. And yes, we received CARES Act like everybody else to kind of help cover our public safety and different things like that. But we weren't really one of the cities that actually received funding for human services. And I know that some of the West Valley cities did not receive those. And so our funds went to the county, and we used all of those up in less than 30 days because we only got like $60,000. So I'm not sure who's having those conversations or aware of how they distributed funds, but it is definitely for us a huge human service issue, is that even if they bring up their mortgage and they do not get evicted, we have this looming bill or this burden on a city. And so I just wanted to make it part of the discussion. I'm not sure, again, it's just one of those, let's save the house. And I agree with that 100%. And I appreciate this information, but there are secondary pieces that come pretty immediately afterwards. So I'm not sure where to pass along that information, but I wanted to make sure that it was on record and people were aware that we have issues and we cannot be the only city that's dealing with this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hess. No, Goodyear we have our own water company from I-10 South, and we also have a large number of folks who have not been able to pay their bill. We've worked out payment plans with them, and we've stopped the interest payments. We're doing all we possibly can, but it is a huge amount that we need to address. And our CARES money went to public safety just like yours, and we didn't have any human services money at all. And that's something we really need to talk about, I think. And I think we need to put pressure on our legislature or even the federal legislation that we need to take care of this particular issue so that the cities do not go bankrupt because of unpaid utility payments to them. There's no way to recoup that money. If people don't have the money to pay, they can't pay. So we've stopped cutting off their water as well. So we're doing everything we can to help them. We know it's a critical time in folks' lives, and we don't want to make it any more stressful than it already is. But we're running a business like everyone else, and we've got to stay solvent. So I don't have an answer either, but maybe this could be another discussion. I think, Brandy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I will make note of that. And if there are not any additional comments on the website, we also have Susie Steckner from the City of Tempe who would like to share information on an eviction prevention forum that was held recently.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. And gosh, I'm so excited to learn about the website and follow that as it moves along. I just wanted to briefly let the group know about an eviction prevention forum that we hosted in November with two of our council members, Jennifer Adams and Lauren Kuby. The goal was to really bring some stakeholders together from nonprofit organizations, Urban Land Institute, Vitalist happened to be part of that group, and talk about what some of the issues are facing these different parties. And what rose to the top after this summit was, what the group needs to better serve the people that they are seeing. And, the number one recommendation from this summit was a coordinated communication response to share exactly the kind of resources that we're all talking about here, rent assistance, mortgage assistance, water bill assistance, utility assistance, and on and on. And so we have been looking at ways that we can take a more regional approach to communicating. We've obviously been doing a lot of communication within our community to let our residents know about programs and services, but certainly there are other resources that are more broadly available, and we are looking at how we can help share those resources. And as I said, that's why I'm so excited to hear about this website and how we might help promote that as a resource. And so, Chris, I am going to come knocking on your virtual door to find out, how we can help in that way. Another resource that I would just like to put out there for the group that some of you may be aware of, but we have a 1-year grant-funded financial navigator program that is free to anyone in the state who has been financially impacted by COVID-19. And this navigator program is offered out of our Care 7 emergency response program. And she offers one-on-one 30-minute consultations to really tailor resources to individuals' needs. And we have been promoting her as a resource, again, outside, within our community and outside. So I'd be happy to share a link to that information with Brandy to send out to the larger group, but that is a great resource. And what we're hearing from Thea, our navigator, is that she is seeing so many people who have never had to ask for help before, and they simply don't know what to do because they've not been in that position before. So at any rate, thank you again for having me, and really open to any suggestions about how we can help promote resources in a regional way, since so many of our community members are experiencing the same hardships. So thank you again.
Thank you. So let me put this on the table. Is there a way that all of us could share with Brandy any link that we are sending out to our residents on where help is, that we could put together, that Brandy could send to all of us, and then we could all see if there is a link that would possibly help our residents even more so than what we're doing, because we don't know really what our sister cities are doing. We're all kind of in the dark, and we're struggling ourselves trying to help during this pandemic, but there's no rules, there's no book to go by. So we're blazing the trail, and we're trying to do everything legally possible that we can to help our residents, because we know everybody's in this. So any information that we could share with one another, to me, is extremely important. And I would be open and appreciate everyone, even if it's a little small, tiny link to something that would help someone somewhere. If you would just share that with Brandy and we could get it out to everybody, that would be great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would be happy to do that. And Councilmember Navarro has raised his hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank you. And to that point, I appreciate the conversation we're having, because that's kind of exactly what we're, probably since I've been on, trying to get to, is how do we get things out of the silos and communicate more effectively and share information, and kind of what we're doing in Tempe to broadcast it out to the region. Is there a possibility, Brandy? I have no idea in terms of workloads and things like that, but do we have the ability through this committee to reach out to the human services, so to speak, of each city and just say, hey, here's our new program that's coming out. Maybe we're already doing this, or vice versa, that whoever is the head of that department to have the understanding of, with the services the county and MAG offers, here's how key people in those cities are done to reach out to those people, not through council members, but just through the staff themselves.
Madam Chair and Councilmember Navarro, thank you for that question. Yes, MAG can certainly reach out to the cities and towns and the county. We can collect information about what resources are available. One idea that I can explore through my team here at MAG is to collect if there are various links and that go to different resources available in the community. Potentially, we could create a landing page from the MAG website where we could list all of those different resources that are available throughout the region. So that's one idea of something that we could pursue. You were cutting in and out a bit, Councilmember Navarro, but I believe you were requesting, can we reach out to the staff at the various cities and towns, and we can certainly do that.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is a great suggestion. And that goes right along with all of us getting our information to Brandy so that she can put it together. And I think if you are able to do a landing page in MAG, that would be absolutely wonderful. A one-stop shop, so to speak. I know in our city, the finance department is our contact for help because that's who is handling the sewer, the water bills and the trash bills and that sort of thing. And they don't know where to send folks other than what we have told them. So that would be great, Brandy. And maybe we could, for our next agenda, have an update on how this is coming together, I think. So is there any other comments anyone would like to make regarding this? Okay, and then I'm assuming that all of us are willing to participate and share any opportunity to coordinate and creating awareness about all the resources that are available. And if you are and you're able to see that it is helping your residents, I would like you to report back to us at our next meeting as well. That's really important. We need to know if these programs are really working or if they've really helped. Even if they only help one person, we know the message is getting out, and that's what's important.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, it looks like Councilmember Duff has raised her hand, and I see Navarro as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that's from his previous comment or if he'd like to comment again.
All right, so let's start with the Vice Mayor Duff, I think it is now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The city of Mesa was very fortunate to receive direct federal funding, and we were able to expedite like 90 million from the federal government, and then we put in about 40 million ourselves. There is a summary guide that we made and posted on our website under Mesa Cares, and it shows all the programs that we did. I know the CARES is, that's concluded and that's done. However, I'm hoping that there's some more funding that comes in this new round with a new administration, and that the smaller municipalities will be receiving some direct funding in some way, and it might be a source of kind of getting ideas of ways to utilize the funding. And I'm sure any of our directors are glad to go into any details if there's some questions on how to implement it or how to model it. This is just a summary that's on the website. It's more for the residents. Look at it, it doesn't have the how-tos, but I just wanted to let you know that it was there and we've had great success with it. We're very fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we'll include that with our list of resources because I would like to look at that. Councilmember Navarro, do you have other comments at this time?
No, I lowered my hand.
Oh, thank you. Drive careful, Joel, while you're lowering your hand. I'm worried about you on the road. All right. Is there any further discussion at this time regarding our last item? So we're going to move it, if you don't mind, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is an update on regional efforts to address homelessness. Amy St. Peter, our MAG Deputy Executive Director, will provide us an update, and we're anxious to hear this.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Really just excited to be able to share this time with you today. Please do let me know at any time if you have questions, comments. We'd love to hear from you. We are very focused on making sure that the regional efforts are aligned with your local priorities and needs. And so we appreciate any feedback now, as well as throughout the presentation and then after this meeting as well. So in November, we started ramping up our regional efforts to address homelessness. This came about because of the
Madam Chair, may I, Amy, your volume has, or your sound has cut out.
sorry, are you able to hear me now?
That is better now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'll keep my camera off to maintain the audio. When did I cut out, Brandy? Can you let me know, please, so I don't repeat?
Yeah, so we started ramping up efforts at the end of November.
Perfect. Thank you. Didn't miss much then. So we started ramping up our efforts in November, really because of the increase in the numbers of people who are experiencing homelessness. That's occurring in all of our communities here throughout the region, as well as in many communities throughout the country. And so we've had intensive efforts underway, and we wanted to be able to engage with you and to see how you might like to be involved, working very closely with your staff, as well as with the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care and a number of other partners throughout the region. Next slide, please. Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. So this is just some of the work that's been completed. We have significant work underway, primarily in the areas of outreach, research, and coordination. So you'll see that we've completed some of our research activities so far. We thought it was critically important then to take a look at what are the most effective practices throughout the country in terms of addressing homelessness at that regional level. We very much want to learn from those who are doing it well. We're also looking to local communities who are doing this work extremely well. And we've been able to reflect all of those good practices through our local strategy inventory. We asked our member agencies, cities, towns, counties, to let us know their priorities in addressing homelessness. What are the main activities and how can we be of assistance? We've used that information coupled with information that we've gleaned from your approved plans and created this local strategy inventory. We've taken the most effective national practices as well as those local strategies that are in play right now. And we have developed a draft portfolio of regional strategies in 4 main areas. That includes housing, shelter, services, and then diversion and prevention. We are culling through the inventory right now through that portfolio to refine those based on additional research as well as outreach. And we will be coming forward with this portfolio in May through the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care, MAG Management Committee, and MAG Regional Council to approve these strategies with an implementation plan to follow shortly thereafter. We need to be able to implement these strategies as well, and that will require additional funding. So we've created a funding and eligibility chart so that we can let communities know the funding sources that may be eligible to support their local efforts as well as these regional efforts as they unfold. In order to inform these efforts, we conducted an initial round of interviews, and we continue to inform that work consistently throughout this process by additional outreach activities. Next slide, please. We do have a fair amount of work underway with more coming up as well. And that includes that portfolio of regional strategies that I just mentioned that will be critical to making sure that we can geographically disperse these, the housing, shelter, and services throughout the region. Every community can have an opportunity to engage in this work. We're looking at assistance for people who are experiencing homelessness right now, as well as those who are at risk. So even if there's a community that may not have a high number of people, as shown through their point in time count, they likely do have a fair number of people who are at risk of becoming homeless. This can be demonstrated by the numbers of people who are requesting rental assistance or eviction assistance, as well as utility assistance. These are often the early warning signs that would demonstrate that someone is in need and really on the brink of becoming homeless. We do have a study that is launching right now as we speak, looking at the considerations that need to be taken into account when citing those new homeless shelter housing and services programs. It is very important that we have these considerations in mind earlier rather than later in this process, because we'll need to work with communities to build up support for the strategies. And we want to make sure that communities really have the best information on hand to help them have those conversations with their residents. It is critical not just to look at what we're doing and who's doing it, but where it's going to be located. And so we're taking a look at the analysis of municipal investments. That task order is underway right now. And through this effort, we're tracking the financial investments that communities are making, as well as those in-kind contributions potentially. This will help us gain a better understanding of how much communities in our region are investing right now to address homelessness. We can then compare that amount to the level of funding that we'll need to implement those new strategies. And so, for example, if the amount of funding needed to launch the new strategies is twice the amount that we're currently dedicating, then we know that we have a lot of fundraising to do, or we need to scale back in terms of those strategies. So this will help us to understand the capacity that's available throughout the region. A needs assessment will inform this work as well. We're conducting the needs assessment looking both at the supply as well as the demand. So the supply is defined as the direct as well as the ancillary services available to assist people who are experiencing homelessness right now, as well as those who are at risk of becoming homeless. In terms of the demand, we'll be both looking at the numbers of people, the concentrations of people experiencing homelessness as indicated through the outreach data, homeless management information system, and other data sources, as well as those people who might be at risk. This needs assessment will help us to really fine tune those strategies so that we're able to recommend very specifically where those services or housing or shelter need to be located based on the data. And so, for example, again, if there's a community that is experiencing a high number of people asking for rental assistance, then we'll know that we need to cite the rental assistance programs that will be developed through these strategies right in that community. And so that will help us to be very responsive to the needs of each individual community in addition to the region as a whole. All of this work then is informed by extensive outreach. We've held our first forum with the nonprofit leadership just earlier this month. We do have 2 forums scheduled next month for the line staff, for the frontline staff of nonprofit agencies. We've also scheduled a housing forum on February 17th to be able to engage the developers, the lenders, and the realtors to help us better understand what kind of housing is most in need and where do we have some opportunities perhaps to forge new partnerships to make housing more available. In addition to the increasing numbers of people who are experiencing homelessness, we've also seen a decreasing supply in the amount of affordable housing, and that is pushing many into the brink of becoming homeless as well. The outreach forum series will continue with a number of other groups such as education, the faith community, and philanthropy as well. We'll also have a forum towards the end of this series, specifically with your staff from the cities, towns, and counties, as well as with you as the elected officials. We'd like to hold those 2 forums toward the end of the series because we want to be able to provide to you the insights that we've learned from all of the previous forums, and then be able to get your feedback on the draft strategies that are being considered for inclusion in that regional portfolio. If any of you would like information on any of these forums and would like to attend, please do let us know. We would welcome your input and your participation at any time. We do continue to receive requests for data from your staff, and we continue to fill those on an ongoing basis as well. 2 of those more recent data requests include one in terms of better understanding what is the role of law enforcement in addressing homelessness, not so much from an enforcement perspective, but much more so from an outreach kind of role. And so we'll be asking your law enforcement stakeholders throughout the region, what are you doing to reach out to people who are experiencing homelessness? What kind of role are you filling at that moment? And what steps are you taking perhaps to connect that person experiencing homelessness with those critical services and housing and shelter throughout the region? The other request that was received recently was to get a better understanding in terms of the last city or town that the person experiencing homelessness lived in before they became homeless. Right now, we do have data on last permanent residents, but more often than not, that could be a reflection of where those services are located and not so much a reflection in terms of where that person lived before they became homeless. This data will help us again to better cite those the housing, shelter, and services that are needed very specifically in communities, and to be able to work with communities to understand the full extent of homelessness within their area. Next slide, please. These are just some of our partners. One of our Key partners in all of this work is the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care, MAG itself. We are also very deeply engaged in this work because of our service to you as our member agencies, partnering very closely with you in all of this work. A new group called the Regional Collaborative on Homelessness has also formed. This is the partnership among 6 different regional entities who are all addressing homelessness. So this includes MAG, Maricopa County, ASU, Arizona Housing Coalition, Vilas Health Foundation, and the United Way. At a minimum, we just want to make sure that we're working together and sharing information so we don't trip over each other and waste time and resources. But ideally, we want to make sure that we're leveraging each other and we're supporting each other and able to achieve more because we're working together as opposed to working within our individual silos. And there are many more throughout the region, including the business community, and we'll have a forum with them as well coming up actually in March. Next slide, please. This is our overall timeline, and then I have a few slides that break down these different areas of work more specifically. So research is being conducted right now, as well as that outreach. The regional strategies are under development right now. We'll be really fine-tuning those and starting to vet those very actively in April. And in May, they'll go before Regional Council then for approval. In June, then we'll pivot to develop an implementation plan that will be very tactical in nature and will really identify those firm and formal commitments to be able to implement these strategies as well as maintain them for the long term. Next slide, please. And this is some of the detail. So in the area of research, this is the work that's underway or has been completed, and this will conclude in March. Next slide, please. In terms of outreach, these are the forums that we have planned right now. And again, these will conclude in March as well. And the first one just launched on January 6th. Next slide, please. The regional strategies will be formed on the basis of the needs assessment, as well as all of that data analysis coming from the research and the findings on the outreach forums. We're very excited to be able to partner with Arizona Town Hall. They will be helping to shape the agendas for the forums, to facilitate those sessions, and then to be able to analyze the findings and to develop really a quality report that can be shared with all of you that may be of assistance to you in your local efforts as well. Next slide, please. And the tactics then. This is critically important. We will be hosting a capstone event that will invite all of the forum participants that were engaged with us previously in that series. And the purpose of that capstone event then will be to review the findings, to take a look at the strategies, and to break down any barriers to collaboration, and to be able to identify how we're going to work together to implement these regional strategies that will enhance the infrastructure to address homelessness. We'll be looking at the funding that's needed. Again, that will be informed by a cost analysis of the strategies themselves, as well as funding that might already be available, but perhaps allocated throughout the region. We're going to make sure that all of this work is accountable and that it's measurable, because we need to be able to demonstrate success, to have that shared definition of what is success, and then to be able to know how close we are hitting that mark and if we need to make any adjustments. And that implementation plan would begin development in June with final approval in August of this year. Next slide, please. And this is my contact information. I'm sure you know how to get a hold of me, but really do encourage any feedback that you might have. Again, your insights are very critical to this process. We want to be able to partner very closely with you to ensure that we're meeting your needs and that we're able to meet the needs of the region at the same time. This does conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for this very comprehensive report. And it is so interesting to see what all is transpiring. Does any of the committee have any comments or questions for Ms. St. Peter? Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and we look forward to hearing the results as you move through your timeline.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair, it looks like Councilmember Duff has raised her hand. Or I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Duff.
Thank you.
Sorry to keep on commenting. The City of Mesa has been working on a program that thus far has been working quite well, starting with a community court, and then moving into our Off the Streets program, which we approach homeless and those without housing. And provide hotel rooms and then put them but they have to go through a program that has solutions to whatever isn't working out for them. But we've had this pathway that we're working on. I'm glad, I'm sure Natalie Lewis, our deputy city manager, who's, it sounds like you've already been in touch with her, glad to share this program that we're working on, and thus far I've had great success.
Thank you very much. Mesa in particular has done an extraordinary amount in terms of addressing homelessness in a very proactive and innovative way. And so we're excited to be able to learn from Mesa. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you so much, Amy, for this report, and we look forward to future updates.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we will now move to item number 7. An update on Section 5310 program. Dee Dee Gassia will provide an overview for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for letting me provide an update on the FTA Section 5310 Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disability Grant Program. The Section 5310 program provides funding to mobility to the targeted population by expanding transportation options where public transportation is unavailable, insufficient, or inappropriate. MAG coordinates the Section 5310 application process for the Phoenix Mesa urbanized area. Eligible activities include traditional capital requests such as vehicles, preventive maintenance, and other capital operating requests for projects that exceed ADA required services. In 2020, the region awarded over $3.5 million in projects providing services for older adults and persons with disabilities. The 2021 Section 5310 application is anticipated to be released on Tuesday, January the 26th, kicking off with a proposal workshop. This year's process will also include the additional supplemental funding under the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, otherwise CRISA 21. The applications will be due on February the 22nd by noon. Estimated funding for the region is anticipated to be $3.4 million based on last year's apportionment, with over $585,000 available under CRISA. The Arizona Department of Transportation Section 5310 application process is a 2-year cycle. Applicants in the Avondale, Goodyear, small urban, and rural areas. ADOS application is anticipated to be released on Thursday, February the 4th, also including a section for CRISA. This includes my updates. For additional information regarding the Section 5310 application process, you can contact me at dgastia@az.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Does any committee member have any questions for Dee Dee regarding this Section 5310 program? All right, thank you, Dee Dee. I'm sure after the application process is over and if we're ready to award the grant, we'll have another report from you telling us how successful the program is. Thank you.
Definitely, thank you.
All right, then we will move to item number 8. Are there any requests for future agenda items, topics of interest to this committee? Additional than what we've already said we would like a follow-up on? I don't know who, oops, I'm sorry, someone was going to speak and then they went off. Is there any other further comments, any agenda items you wish to hear about? So Brandy, do you have our list of things that we're going to follow up on?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So I do have a recommendation to follow up on collecting the eviction prevention resources to report out on that information that was collected and the possibility of developing a landing page to provide those different resources from the MAG landing page. Also a follow-up on the work addressing homelessness. Our next meeting is March 11th at 10 a.m. So if there are additional items that you think of after today's meeting, please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to include those ideas. And it looks like Vice Mayor Duff has a comment.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, I got an applause in there too. But I was wondering, I don't know if it is under this committee, but I would like an update on the Housing Trust Fund, the state, on funding that, what the status is, where we're going with that. I've heard that there's more monies being allocated to that, but it certainly affects being able to have affordable housing funds. Thank you.
Madam Chair and Vice Mayor Duff, I can certainly reach out to the Arizona Housing Coalition to see if someone from the coalition would be willing to provide an update on that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other updates or questions you have for us to look into for next meeting? All right, well then we will move to comments from the committee. If anyone on the committee has any information they would like to share or an update they would like to share what's going on in their city, this is for information only. We won't take any action, but we would love to hear what's going on in your city if you care to share. Okay, I guess we are shared out this morning. We've been sharing for the last hour and it's been a wonderful meeting. I want to thank all of you for taking time out for coming. I want to especially thank the staff for their hard work putting this together. And I would like to thank Chris Groninger from the Arizona Bar Foundation for presenting, and for Brandy and Amy and Dee Dee and everyone who has participated and taken part in making this meeting so informational for all of us. If there's no further business, I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you and be safe, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Great to see you today.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.